Alrighty, welcome to week 3 in CIT93 JavaScript. So for this semester, and this meaning the current semester we're in, the fall 2026 semester, I've done a little bit of an update to my office hours. I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about tutoring a little bit. Um, I haven't asked, so if you're interested or if you have some input about this, I haven't asked if anyone had experienced what I'd put out during the beginning of summer. So the interactive playground, this is something we're working on here in the program, far as web development program, which I definitely could show you the map of the new courses that we're going to do. I'll figure out a way to integrate that. But in this case, that's part of the readiness bridge was actually came out of that planning that we're doing. So, which is really to help students try to level up before they get into the class. Because for students who are new to this, and I saw some of this already in the discussion that we're having, these first couple of weeks in just this course, depending on your level of experience, because the idea is we're targeting users, but we're also, and I've talked about this targeting, helping students actually get what they need from a JavaScript course or in the program. So there's multiple things we're trying to, as always, achieve. Okay, so at this point, I have seen work from week 2, and I'm recording today the attendance for week 3. And what is great already is the amount of interaction and success I've seen students have with setting up their dev environment, already getting started working ahead. These are things that I'm going to target on topics today and understanding kind of how the class is set up. So for today, in week 3. I haven't released it yet. That's one of the things as I move into it. I actually haven't published it yet because I'm updating this video. But you will have one from last semester for the actual graded part. So we'll go over that. Or actually, you can watch that video to go over that. One of the things I talked about in week 2 was the idea of code, your local or your code space and disabling AI. And I just want to reiterate why that's important is because you're doing a technical interview and the vendors, in this case, Microsoft, is really trying to inject, not trying, they are successfully injecting their product into the VS Code environment that you're probably using for, I think there's one student here, and Gunther is not, which is fine. But most of you are using VS Code, that is, by the way, a Microsoft product. But if you're using CodeSpace, that's your only choice. If you're using local, of course, you could choose something else. I don't generally recommend it, but for students who want to, I also don't prohibit it. My point about this is, and I actually have CodeSpace up and running, just set up a new CodeSpace this morning. So one of the things, and I set up a new file here, and I'm gonna because I actually had last week I had talked about ways to disable this from a what we call a lower level JSON file configuration. But this week, here's what I'm going to tell you because I want you to know why I'm doing it, which is that when you're taking a class as this is, that you're going to have a technical interview, you don't want to use AI to write your code. You want to actually learn that so that when you get in a technical interview and ultimately when you actually walk away with a skill set or maybe even improved skill set, it really depends on how you came in. The idea is that you have that skill, okay? And AI is great in many instances. We'll use some today. You'll see how I kind of set up the use of AI, which is really to help you learn things fairly quickly. But when it comes to JavaScript and coding in general, I recommend not using AI especially for the IDE. We call this the integrated development environment. So just to show you what I recommend, first, over here, this panel over here, is where you can chat with Copilot, which, by the way, Copilot is a product that costs over time, depending on your use. So what I do is I would come over here and I would say where it says show view by default, I would take that off and I would hit X. Now I've noticed, and maybe they're starting to also do this, that it was gone the next time I come into my code space. Okay. I don't think this is true. No, I actually think this is true locally as well. So now that I have a new file, right, where I actually created, and this is just, for every week, we create files. So in this case, I've created a folder and a file. And you can see even in here. So what I say is don't show it. And when you're creating the file, now you've seen me do this to where now you're creating the file and we're version controlling it. But down here in the terminal, so remember, we're interacting with the terminal in order to do our version control. And so even in here, I recommend don't show it. Now, because I'm not forcing this, I'm really explaining why I want you to, I highly recommend you don't use the integrated Copilot in this way. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. But by the way, also GitHub, which is who we're using this morning, happened to be that when I was going to look at files, there was an issue here. And it's unfortunate that this happens, but there's also a site you can check this called GitHub status, to where if something may be happening on GitHub side, they say there are an incident as of this morning that you can kind of see here. Like you're in the RL in the time that I'm actually recording this. We're just coming into week 2. So I'm just telling you that from the date perspective, right? Because today in the RL it's the 17th, but I'm working on week 3. But I'm just showing you this so that you can have a way, and it's just githubstatus.com in there. Okay, so those are things. So this is my point of this. Just, attempts, or I would say don't use it. But again, I can't. I could, but I'm not going to, because I also want you to just understand why. Okay, tutor hours update. We talked about that we have 2 tutors for this class. Brianna's hours, which are listed here, and she actually sent out a great message at the beginning of week 2 that definitely check that out, right? But in the week 0, Brianna's hours here are updated. So you can see when hers are. And I definitely recommend, and here's what I would say in general about getting help, is the sooner you get help when you're getting stuck, the better it's going to be. And you saw when I actually sent out before the first week's attendance, I sent out a little tips. And one of the tips was about how 5 minutes can help you save, and I was kind of tongue in cheek, 5 hours, but I, no joke, have seen that with some issues with students. The timing is actually timing. The issue is timing. When do you reach out for help, right? Because maybe you're somebody that works late at night, and my hours and Brianna's hours and Zach's hours may not work for you. So this is where you have to think about what you need, and can you be flexible around that need? Otherwise, you can always shoot me an email, shoot Brianna an email. Just know that that reply was probably not going to come if you're working around, for me, anytime after 6 generally. Okay. So back here. So that's the tutor hours. Definitely reach in. And by the way, I do offer additional late passes. What that is if you check out Simple Syllabus, which is right here, which I'm going to actually look at in a minute, because my hours are actually going to be changing. But when you go get tutoring, you get additional late passes, which means you can submit late work without points removed, because in my class, when you submit late work, you do get points reduced. Okay, now this actually is going to run into this topic, which is the benefit of working ahead. And some of you have already seen this, because the sooner you work ahead in this class, the more chances you get to get help, have me review it, you update it, so that if you do that before the work, before the due date, then you don't lose the points for something you may have missed. So if you're submitting after the due date, you would lose 25% of the points possible. So if that happens and you were getting tutoring, you can start banking, because I give you 2 um, passes at the beginning of the semester. And my point here is you can earn more. Okay. All right, so this week we're going to dive into getting some starter code and using AI to help you understand it. That second video will be for that. But if you want to learn more about HTML and CSS, the class I'm teaching right now, which has already started, which is too late to get in, but just in the future, is the Introduction to Web Development. Gives you just that basic introduction to HTML and CSS. But if you really want to dive deeper, and if you're in the web development program, or if you're just somebody that wants to increase those skills, Rick Gomez, Professor Gomez, has a 9-week, and what that means is the semesters broke up into the front 9 and the back 9. In the back 9, starting after the middle part of October, there is a course on HTML and CSS. Okay, so I've talked about this, and I've talked about this, and I've talked about the fact that, well, I haven't talked about this one yet, but these are the things I want to make sure as we come in to this week, you have at least some current touch points on, because that is important. And last week you experienced your first AI checkpoint. And so this week you are going to do that again. But in this week, there'll be no changes except for the content that it covers at this point. Okay, I think that's what I wanted to say. I'm glad we're into week 3, and I can't really emphasize enough, or maybe by emphasizing it again, I'm trying to emphasize it enough, the importance of getting help. You have multiple ways to get help for this class. And of course, on that stack of things can be AI to help you understand something. What I'm really trying to help you understand is the way you use AI is really important, because AI, using it for actually generating code in other situations might be fine, but for this class will not help you because of the technical interview. That's why I talked about disabling it in whatever environment you're in, and getting help, of course, is and I gave you an additional reason for getting help today as well. Okay, so I've talked about the importance of working ahead so that when you submit, and here's the thing to know, I grade each morning. Matter of fact, I just finished grading for week 2, so I got to see some of the week 2. And that's the other thing, is I release content a week ahead of when it's due. So at this point, I'm working. This is week 3, but I'm actually recording at the beginning of week 2, which is my goal, to keep content at minimum. In this case, what you have in week 2 and 3 would be 2 weeks available for you to work on. And I've already noticed there's a good number of you who are already using this working ahead feature. So I'm going to highly recommend for anyone, work ahead whenever possible. It is a better, and I get it. I get the whole, like, sometimes I just don't have time. I get that too. All I would say is see if you can be flexible to change that schedule wherever possible. All right, that's it from me. Let's have a great week 3. We dive into some fun topics. We're going to start our carbon footprint app web form, and I look forward to connecting with you. Have a great one. Bye.